Easy money time. Easy money time. I know what Ineos. I know Ineos. Ineos. I just want a 6 months contract. 6 months contract, that's enough. Just give me a few million and I'll coach Manchester United until the end of the season. Few million, 6 months, that's it. 17 games for me. I'll get Manchester United Champions League football. I do not want to coach anymore. But what Ineos are going to do? Now, if Michael Carrick does get Manchester United into the Champions League places for the next season, Ineos, I know what you're going to do, you fools. You're just going to give the permanent job to Michael Carrick in it. Ineos, you can't fool me. Michael Carrick, apparently in the interview, where Solskjaer, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and Michael Carrick had with the Ineos board, which is obviously Omar Berrada, the CEO, Jason Wilcox, the sporting director, and I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe was also present in the interviews with all these managers. Solskjaer, he said, "Yeah, I want this X amount of money. Obviously, I'll lead Manchester United until the end of the season, these 5 to 6 months period. But if I do well, I want a permanent job." They said, get the hell out of here, Solskjaer. That's what Ineos said. Rude? Rude probably has the same thing. He's like, me, I'm a legend for Manchester United. I played 5 seasons over here. I've scored 150 goals for you lot. I won you lot a Premier League title as well. If I do well in this period, you gotta give me the job as well. As a permanent manager, Ineos said, get the hell out of my office. And finally, in came Michael Carrick, a company man, a man for the people, a man who loves to obey orders from his seniors, from his bosses. He enters the room with his glasses on and he says, Blood, don't worry. 5 months, don't worry, only until the end of the season. I'll get you Champions League football. You know me, Michael Carrick. I've been here for 12 years. I won countless Premier League titles. I won a Champions League as well for Manchester United. I won the FA Cup, League Cup. I won it all for you lot. Give me the job right now. Just for this period as an interim. I don't want anything more. Just give me this amount of money. And in the end, you'll get the Champions League football as you desire. And knowing Ineos, if Michael Carrick by chance does get Manchester United Champions League football, believe it or not, I do think Ineos, with the decisions they made ever since they've taken over Manchester United, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were to give Michael Carrick the permanent job come July. Now, jokes aside, let's get all serious. Michael Carrick has been chosen as the interim manager for Manchester United, interim head coach, I must say. Obviously, the title these days at Manchester United is head coach, because the head coach isn't allowed to involve himself with the board in terms of the signings that the board wants to make, in terms of anything at the club. That's why the title for them is head coach, not manager role. Because the job of a manager is not just to coach the team, it's not just to look after the team, it's not just to see how the club is developing, whether there are positives, whether there are negatives, whether the club is moving in the right direction. That's what a manager does. And a manager also has himself involved in the transfers that the club do make. But Manchester United do not want to give any power to any of these managers. Therefore, the title head coach. So all the head coach does is try and improve the team's performances on the field, in the training sessions, to build um, um, the right structure in the training sessions to get the best out of the players on the field, to get the best out of the players that are recruited by the board above, whether or not they're good or bad. They just got to deal with it, the head coaches. They do not have any say in these matters. Now, Michael Carrick obviously has been chosen as the interim manager to lead Manchester United for the remaining 17 matches of this season. Given that we do not have any European football this season after a disastrous season last year where we finished 15th and were unable to win the Europa League as well. And we were dumped out of the Carabao Cup in the second round. Our first game in the Carabao Cup, losing to Grimsby, and just a few days ago against Brighton, humiliated at Old Trafford against a second string Brighton, not even their main team. Fabian Hertzler was happy to rotate his side against Manchester United at Old Trafford in a cup game, in a third round game, our first game in the FA Cup as well. We get dumped out. Headshot dead to us. A head top kick. They've kicked us right here, and the blow has hit us so hard that we've been kicked out of Old Trafford. We've been kicked out of Old Trafford, and all the fans have booed the team once again. Now, Mr. Michael Carrick, this is not going to be an easy task for you. Although, on paper, if you look at it, the teams above us, Newcastle, Liverpool, Aston Villa, all these clubs have European football to deal with as well as FA Cup matches, and obviously the remaining Premier League matches. But all these teams above us will have games every 3 days until the end of the season. Now, for us, Manchester United, it's clear for us now. We have a week's break for every single fixture from now on. There can be no excuses at all from now on. And if Michael Carrick is unable to get this team into the top 5, in my opinion, he hasn't done his job to the best that he could have. Because 17 games from now on, given that we have all our players can recover properly with breaks in the middle if needed for the players who, in my opinion, should be blamed the most. But for some reason, that goes against the club's policy, I guess. They do not want to blame the players at all. People like Dalot, Ugarte, Dorgu, even Lenny Yoro currently, he's not been great at all. Xerxes, Menu, these are the players that are not playing for the badge at all. They're not playing for the club at all. And in my opinion, these lot are in Manchester United level. If we want to get back to the top, we cannot have these lot. Now, Ineos, as I mentioned earlier, have just one final life remaining. Now that you've made the choice of bringing Michael Carrick in and you've decided in not signing anyone in the January transfer window, better make sure that we get into the Champions League places. Because along with Michael Carrick, who will obviously, once his term ends in May, will leave the door, you lot Ineos, you too will leave the door along with him. If we have a disastrous final 17 games to the season, leading us to finish low on the table. Now, if you decide not to leave the door along with Michael Carrick, if that's the case, your final straw is the manager that you recruit and the players that you recruit. The manager that you obviously get in for the future, if it's not a big name, if it's not a manager that excites the Manchester United fans, if it's not a manager that can get us back to being a good team, a solid team, a team that can compete not just in the Premier League but also in Europe and also in the cup competitions, then you get the hell out of the club. And the recruitment better be spot on. Because the manager market in the summer Looks like you can get a Luis Enrique. Looks like you can get a Thomas Tuchel. Looks like you can get a Julian Nagelsmann. Looks like you can get Xavi Hernandez. Looks like you can get Xabi Alonso now as well. Carlo Ancelotti is also a possibility. Don't forget that. But if you do not get the right man in Ineos with the right players for that manager, get the hell out of here, you clown. Fools, Ineos. Don't play with us anymore. Please, get the hell out of here. There are a lot of people ready to buy Manchester United. It's not just you. Don't forget that. There are a lot of people who will buy Manchester United off your hands. Off your hands. Don't forget that. Now, do I think Michael Carrick is the right manager to have signed in as the interim? Out of the three options that the media have brought into light, the three candidates obviously were Michael Carrick, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Ruud van Nistelrooy. In my opinion, I think Michael Carrick is the best option out of the three. I know Ruud van Nistelrooy has managed in Netherlands. He did a decent job, I think, over there. Was an interim manager for Man United after we did get Ten Hag out of the job once he was sacked by Ineos as well. Where he had a decent run. Those 3 games he did what he could do before going to Leicester City, where he was a flop, a horror manager. Couldn't get the team going at all for Leicester, and eventually what ended up happening was Leicester City getting relegated. Next, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Apart from his tenure at Manchester United, where he did decently well, one of the seasons we finished second, one of the seasons we finished third, and half the season that he did get after Jose Mourinho was sacked, he did help us reach the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and we finished sixth in the Premier League season. And in this interim run, had a 74% win rate, I think, in the Premier League, if I'm not wrong, which was mind blowing, obviously. But in his last season in charge of the club, things went downhill. Things didn't work out, or the progression was halted, and we went into a downward trajectory after that, which eventually led to Solskjaer getting sacked. Before Solskjaer took the Manchester United job, he was a Cardiff City manager where he was miserable, horror, cheeks. Then recently, even at Besiktas, was sacked few months into his tenure because the club didn't see any progress, nor did they think Solskjaer was the right man to take them forward. Meaning Solskjaer, apart from his tenure at Manchester United, even his tenure at Manchester United was average, I would say, not great, because he didn't win any trophy at all. But his credentials elsewhere is not just below average, he's a flop of a manager. So, and given that he's already had his chance in Manchester United and the dressing room turned against him, I think it was the right call not to get Solskjaer back, given that we do still have some of the players that were part of this team under Solskjaer, in the likes of Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes. You still have these kind of Diogo Dalot. Don't forget that clown Diogo Dalot. So obviously you still had those players in the books who are still currently at Manchester United. Now Michael Carrick, the 3 games he was in charge of Manchester United, a draw for us against Chelsea, a win against Arsenal, and a win against Villarreal in the Champions League. That was the 3 results for Michael Carrick and Manchester United as a manager. Since then, he went on to manage Middlesbrough, doing a decent job, um, and was eventually relieved of his duties in the summer. After doing a decent job at Middlesbrough, making them a better outfit from the previous manager, but obviously Middlesbrough had different plans and felt like another manager could help them maybe move up in the tables. Which, if you look at it currently, the manager Rob Edwards, who before taking over the Wolves job did a great job at Middlesbrough, and the current manager also at Middlesbrough is doing quite a decent job over there. I think they're currently second in the championship. Now for Michael Carrick, I like the style of football that he does play, a 4-2-3-1 formation. Even when Solskjaer was the manager at Manchester United, Michael Carrick was one of the tacticians for him, one of the backroom members, assistant managers, along with Kieran McKenna, who always who were the brains for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a clueless manager when it comes to tactics. He alone cannot do or justify the job of being a manager or a head coach in terms of drilling the players the right way, or if things are going bad on the field, he doesn't know what to do in terms of tactics to kind of help the team get out of that sticky position. So now let's see how Michael Carrick does all as well, given that he was also a top class midfielder in his playing days, playing 12 years for Manchester United as a midfielder, winning it all, winning what, five Premier League titles, a Champions League title, FA Cups, Europa League, Carabao Cup. So he's won it all. Don't forget that. And given that he's also a midfielder, unlike the likes of Ruud van Nistelrooy and Solskjaer, who are two attackers, I think midfielders have much better understanding and reading of the game, which I do think gives Michael Carrick the edge over the likes of Solskjaer as well as Ruud van Nistelrooy. Now that I've obviously given you the reason as to why Michael Carrick was probably chosen over, and why I think Michael Carrick was the right choice over Ruud van Nistelrooy and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It doesn't matter what my opinion is, or what the other people's opinion is, or what the fans' opinion is. All it comes down to now is how Ruud van Nistelrooy gets the players going on the field, how he can motivate the players, and whether he can get the results at the end of the day and get us into those Champions League spots, hopefully by the end of the season. If he does that, mission accomplished. If not, rinse and repeat, get a new manager, and hopefully build a project along with him. Anyhow, it's been your boy Uttu Rants. Like, share, and subscribe. Please, man, get me a lot more followers, get me a lot more subscribers. Come on now, man. I'm doing a lot of work here on YouTube. Now it's time for you lot to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you lot soon. Peace.